If you truly want to understand how the world really works, the first step is to abandon the illusion that people make rational decisions. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that logic rules human behavior, that facts determine choices, that reason guides actions. But every time you rely on this assumption, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The reality is that human beings are not logical creatures. We are psychological creatures. And there's one psychological trigger so powerful, so deeply embedded in our evolutionary wiring, that it can make anyone obey anything, even commands that go against their moral compass. Would you electrocute an innocent stranger if someone in authority told you to? Before you immediately say, absolutely not, let me share something that will fundamentally change how you see every interaction for the rest of your life. 65% of ordinary people, teachers, nurses, engineers, parents, just like you, already did exactly that. They administered what they believed were potentially lethal electric shocks to a complete stranger simply because an authority figure commanded them to continue. And here's the part that's going to disturb you. You would have probably done it too. Your spouse would have done it. Your children would have done it. Because this psychological trigger bypasses conscious thought completely. My name is your name, and for the past decade, I've been studying the dark psychology of influence, the hidden mechanisms that control human behavior. I've worked with government agencies, Fortune 500 corporations, and elite performers who understand that success isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about understanding the psychological levers that move people. In the next 40 minutes, I'm going to reveal the most closely guarded secret in human psychology. A code so powerful that once you crack it, you'll never again wonder why some people effortlessly command respect while others struggle to get basic attention. But first, let me ask you something that might sting. Have you ever wondered why your brilliant ideas get ignored in meetings? Why less qualified people get promoted ahead of you? Why your children don't listen despite your years of wisdom? Why clients choose inferior competitors over your superior solutions? Maybe you're a business owner watching mediocre competitors steal your customers. Maybe you're a parent whose teenagers roll their eyes at your guidance. Maybe you're a professional whose expertise gets overlooked time and time again. Here's what's really happening. You lack what psychologists call perceived authority, and without it, you're fighting an invisible war every single day, a war where the rules were written long before you were born. The truth is, your brain was designed in a world where authority meant survival. For millions of years, questioning the tribal leader meant death. Obeying the strongest meant living another day. Those neural pathways still fire today, but now they're being weaponized against you. Every corporation, every government, every cult leader understands this code. They use specific symbols, environments, and language patterns that trigger automatic obedience. While you're trying to win with logic and facts, they're speaking directly to the primitive brain that controls behavior. Think about it. How much money have you lost? Because people didn't take your recommendations seriously? How many opportunities have slipped away because you couldn't command attention in crucial moments? How many relationships have suffered because you couldn't influence the people who matter most? The people who seem to effortlessly get what they want aren't necessarily smarter, more qualified, or more deserving. They simply understand the psychological triggers that make humans comply. They know the authority code. What I'm about to share was discovered in one of the most controversial experiments in psychology history. It's a study that revealed something so disturbing about human nature that universities tried to bury it, governments classified it, and most people have never heard the full story. In 1961, Dr. Stanley Milgram at Yale University was haunted by a question. How did ordinary German citizens become complicit in the Holocaust? How do normal people commit unthinkable acts? Milgram created what appeared to be a simple learning experiment. Volunteers believed they were helping test how punishment affects memory. They sat before an imposing machine with switches labeled from 15 volts, slight shock, all the way up to 450 volts, ominously marked XXX, danger, severe shock. In the adjacent room sat the learner, supposedly another volunteer who would receive electric shocks for wrong answers. The real volunteer's job was straightforward. Increase the voltage with each mistake. At 75 volts, the actor began groaning in pain. At 150 volts, he screamed and demanded to be released. At 300 volts, he fell silent, appearing unconscious or worse. Yet when a scientist in a white lab coat calmly stated, "The experiment requires that you continue," something chilling happened. 65% of ordinary people administered what they believed were potentially lethal shocks. Not psychopaths, not criminals. Teachers, accountants, fathers, mothers, people who would never, harm a fly in normal circumstances. They were sweating, trembling, questioning what they were doing. But they continued. What Milgram discovered shattered our understanding of human nature. He identified 3 specific authority triggers that literally hijack rational thought and moral judgment. These triggers are so powerful they can make anyone comply with almost anything. This wasn't just an academic exercise. These same triggers are being used on you right now. In advertising that makes you buy products you don't need. In political campaigns that make you vote against your interests. In workplaces that make you accept less than you deserve. The first trigger that controls human behavior is status symbols. In Milgram's experiment, it was the white lab coat. Today, it's everything from the suit you wear to the credentials behind your name. Your brain processes these symbols in milliseconds, long before conscious thought kicks in. A luxury watch signals success. A medical degree implies expertise. A corner office suggests power. These aren't just accessories, they're psychological weapons. I once worked with a consultant named Michael who was brilliant but struggling. Clients constantly questioned his recommendations despite his track record. The problem? He looked young and dressed casually. We changed 3 things: his wardrobe, his office setup, and how he introduced himself. Within 60 days, his fees doubled, and his close rate increased by 280%. Here's what most people miss. Status symbols don't just impress people. They trigger evolutionary survival responses. For millions of years, recognizing and deferring to high-status individuals meant protection, resources, and genetic survival. Those who failed to recognize authority got expelled from the tribe and died. The second trigger is environmental control. Milgram's experiment didn't happen in a basement. It took place at prestigious Yale University. The institutional setting gave the scientist instant credibility. Every environment communicates authority before you even speak. The boardroom where you meet clients. The restaurant where you negotiate deals. Even your Zoom background during video calls. Everything is sending signals about your status and credibility. I know a real estate agent who was struggling with high-end clients. Instead of meeting at coffee shops, she started using the conference room at a 5-star hotel. Her average deal size tripled within 4 months. Same person, same skills, different environment, different results. The third and most powerful trigger is commanding presence. This isn't about being loud or aggressive. It's about specific vocal patterns, body language, and word choices that bypass critical thinking. In Milgram's experiment, the scientist used precise phrases. The experiment requires that you continue. You have no other choice. It is absolutely essential that you go on. These weren't random words. They were psychological triggers designed to eliminate resistance. Let me tell you about Sarah, a sales manager whose team was underperforming. She was smart, hardworking, but couldn't get her people to follow her strategies. I taught her 3 specific vocal techniques and 5 commanding phrases. Within 90 days, her team became the top performers in the company. Her secret? She learned to speak the language that the unconscious mind obeys. When you combine all 3 triggers, status symbols, environmental control, and commanding presence, something extraordinary happens. People don't just listen to you, they want to follow you. They seek your approval. They defer to your judgment automatically. Now, I need to address something crucial. What I've just revealed is incredibly powerful, which means it can be incredibly dangerous. These techniques are being used to manipulate you every single day by people who don't have your best interests at heart. Politicians use these triggers to gain your vote while serving special interests. Corporations use them to sell you products that harm your health. Toxic leaders use them to exploit their followers. Once you understand the authority code, you'll see these manipulations everywhere. But here's the key. Understanding these triggers protects you from manipulation while empowering you to influence ethically. When you know how authority works, you can recognize when it's being weaponized against you. I only teach this material to people who commit to using it ethically. Your influence must serve others, not just yourself. You must build real competence, not fake authority. And you must never use these techniques to deceive or exploit. Over the past decade, I've taught this method to thousands of ethical leaders, CEOs who've transformed their company cultures, parents who've built deeper connections with their children, entrepreneurs who've raised millions in funding, teachers who've inspired lifelong learning. Jennifer, a marketing director, used these principles to get approval for a $5 million campaign that had been rejected multiple times. David, a shy engineer, used them to negotiate a 75% salary increase. Maria, a single mother, used them to get her ex-husband to consistently pay child support after years of excuses. This information isn't widely available because it's too powerful. Business schools touch on influence, but they don't teach the deep psychology. Most leadership books focus on outdated models that assume people are rational. The authority code reveals what actually drives human behavior. Here's what I want to do for you today. I want to give you complete access to the authority code system. Everything I've learned about ethical influence, every technique I use, every psychological trigger that creates instant respect and compliance. You're going to get the complete authority code training system, including the authority fundamentals. Master the 3 core triggers that control human behavior. The status symbol mastery course, how to choose and display authority markers that work in your specific industry. The environmental influence handbook, design spaces that automatically command respect. The commanding presence masterclass, the exact vocal patterns, body language, and phrases that trigger obedience. The ethical influence framework, how to use these techniques responsibly. While building genuine trust, the Authority in Action video library, real-world examples and case studies, plus lifetime access to our private community of ethical influencers and monthly live Q&A sessions. If you hired me as a private consultant to teach you this material, it would cost at least $15,000. That's what Fortune 500 companies pay for this level of psychological training. But because I believe ethical people should have access to these tools, especially before unethical people use them against you, I'm not going to charge you anywhere near that amount. For the next 48 hours only, you can get complete access to the Authority Code System for just $497. After that, the price returns to the regular $2,497. And to make this completely risk-free, I'm backing it with my personal 90-day money-back guarantee. If you don't see dramatic improvements in how people respond to you within 90 days, I'll refund every penny. Look, you have a choice to make right now. You can continue struggling to get the respect and influence you deserve, wondering why less qualified people seem to effortlessly get ahead. Or you can master the psychological code that makes people naturally want to follow your lead. To claim your copy of the Authority Code System, simply click the button below this video right now. You'll be taken to our secure checkout page where you can complete your order in under 2 minutes. I'll see you inside the program, where I'll personally guide you through mastering these powerful techniques. Remember, authority isn't about dominance, it's about service. Use these tools to elevate others while achieving your goals, and you'll create a legacy of positive influence that lasts forever. The Authority Code has been hidden for too long. It's time to put this power in the hands of people who will use it to make the world better. Will you be one of them?